Welcome back to our channel. I'm Lisa. And I'm Eric. If you want to improve your English easily, this podcast is perfect for you. So, let's get started and make English learning easy. What are the words for today, Eric? The first word today is logical. Then, we will continue with no longer, to soothe, window shopping, and finally, the ball is in your court. Okay. Let's start with the first word. The first word is logical. 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 Alright, let's explain what logical means. It's an adjective that describes something that makes sense or follows a clear and reasonable thought process. That's right, Lisa. It might sound a bit confusing at first, but it's actually very easy. Let me give an example so our listeners can understand better. It's logical to bring an umbrella if the weather forecast says it will rain. This means that bringing an umbrella when rain is expected makes sense and is a reasonable action. Here's another example. It's not logical to go for a swim during a thunderstorm. In this example, swimming during a thunderstorm is not a wise idea because it could be dangerous. Exactly, Eric. Now, let's listen to a short dialogue using our word logical. I think it's logical to start studying the hardest subject first. That makes sense. If we start with the hardest, the rest will be easier. Exactly. It's a logical way to manage our time. That's a great example, Eric. The word logical here helps us understand that their plan is sensible and well thought out. Right, Lisa. Using logical is a way to describe something that is reasonable and follows a clear process. It's a useful word when you want to show that a decision or idea makes sense. Yes, and it's also important to remember that logical can describe not just decisions but also arguments, explanations, and even people who think clearly and make sense. Yes, Lisa, what do you think? Is it important to be logical in everyday life? I think it is, especially when making decisions. Being logical helps you make choices that are good and sensible. But sometimes, it's also okay to listen to your feelings. What about you, Eric? Do you think being logical is always the best way? Well, being logical is important, but as you said, it's also good to balance logic with emotion. Sometimes our feelings can guide us in the right direction too. I agree. As you said, finding a balance between logic and emotions might sometimes be the best option. Alright, that's all we have time for with our word logical. Okay, Eric, what is the next word? The next word we're going to explain is no longer. No longer. Great. No longer is a very common phrase in English. Can you explain it, Eric? Sure, Lisa. No longer is a phrase that means something was true in the past but is not true now. It's similar to saying not anymore. Could you give an example so that our listeners can understand better? The first example is, she no longer lives in New York. This means that she used to live in New York before, but now she doesn't live there. Let me give another example. Sarah no longer works at the store since she got a new job. It means that Sarah used to work at the store, but she doesn't work there anymore because she got a new job. A small grammar point. No longer usually comes before the main verb in a sentence. For example, she no longer works in New York. Here, no longer is placed before works. Yes, that's important to know. Now, let's give our listeners a short dialogue to see how no longer can be used in a conversation. Sarah, why aren't you eating your vegetables? I no longer like broccoli, Mom. Can I have carrots instead? But you loved broccoli last month. What change? I don't know. I just no longer enjoy the taste. Well, I'm glad you still like some vegetables. That was a great dialogue. Sarah used our phrase no longer to explain that her taste in vegetables has changed. Yes, she did. Eric, have you ever stopped liking a food you used to enjoy? Yes, I have. I no longer like spicy food as much as I used to. How about you, Lisa? Well, I no longer drink as much soda as I did when I was younger. Do you think our tastes change a lot as we grow up? I think they do. It's normal for the things we like to change over time. I agree, our interests and preferences often change. How else can we use no longer in everyday conversations, Eric? For example, we could say, this shirt no longer fits me, when clothes become too small. Good one. Remember, don't forget to put no longer before the main verb. Well, that's all we have time for with our phrase no longer. Let's move on to our next word. Eric, the next word is soothe. Soothe. Soothe is a verb, and it means to make someone feel calm, relaxed, or less worried. You can also use soothe when talking about relieving physical pain or discomfort. For example, she played soft music to soothe the baby. This means she played gentle music to help the baby feel calm and stop crying. That's a good example, Eric. Here's another one. A warm bath can soothe sore muscles. This means that taking a warm bath can help your muscles feel better and less painful. It's important to note that soothe is often followed by the thing or person. For example, soothe the baby or soothe sore muscles. Good point, Eric. You can soothe a person, an animal, or even a part of the body that's in pain. Exactly. Now let's hear a short dialogue using the word soothe. I had such a stressful day at work. I need something to soothe my nerves. Maybe you should try drinking some herbal tea. It might help soothe you. That's a good idea. I'll make some tea right now to help me relax. This dialogue is a perfect example of how soothe is used when talking about calming emotions or making someone feel better. It's a word that's useful in many situations, especially when talking about relaxation or comfort. I agree, Eric. Do you think it's common for people to use soothe in everyday conversations? I think so, especially when talking about things that help us relax or feel better. It's a gentle word that expresses care and comfort. So, Lisa, can you think of something that helps soothe you when you're feeling stressed? That's a good question. For me, listening to calm music often helps soothe my mind when I'm feeling anxious or stressed. What about you, Eric? I find that taking a warm bath can be very soothing. It helps me relax both my body and mind. That sounds nice. It's interesting how different things can soothe different people. Yes, Lisa. Everyone has their own ways of finding comfort. Some like to read a book, while others spend time in nature. Definitely. Well, I think we've covered soothe pretty thoroughly. Shall we move on to our next word? Yes, let's do that. Our next word is window shopping. Window shopping. Window shopping. That sounds interesting. So, what does window shopping mean? Window shopping means looking at things in stores without planning to buy them. You're just looking at things in shop windows or inside the store, but you don't buy anything. So it's like when you walk through the mall and see nice clothes or gadgets but don't buy them. You just look. Exactly. Now let's give some example sentences to help everyone understand better. The first example is, Sarah went to the mall for some window shopping on Saturday. This means that Sarah went to the mall just to look at items in the stores, but she didn't plan to buy anything. Nice. Let me give the second example. I like window shopping because it's fun to see the new products. This means that the person enjoys looking at new items in the stores, even if they don't buy anything. Yes, exactly. And now, let's talk a little bit about the grammar. Window shopping is a noun phrase. You can use it as the object of a verb, like go. For example, I will go window shopping. That's a good point, Eric. Now let's move on to a short dialogue using window shopping. Hey Jane, do you want to buy something today? Not really, Tom. I just want to do some window shopping. Oh, that sounds fun. I like window shopping too. Maybe we can see something nice. Yes, and if we find something really good, we can come back and buy it later. That was a nice and simple conversation, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Jane didn't want to buy anything today, but she enjoyed looking at the items in the store. What do you think about window shopping, Lisa? Do you like it? Oh, I love it. It's relaxing to just look at things without the pressure of buying. How about you, Eric? I like it too, especially when I'm saving money. I can see the new gadgets, but I don't spend anything. That's true. It's like you're shopping, but without spending any money. It's also good when you're with friends, like in our example dialogue. Yes, window shopping can be a fun activity with friends. You get to see all the new items in the stores, and you can talk about what you like or what you want to buy in the future. So, window shopping is not just looking, it can also be a kind of planning. That's a good way to look at it, Lisa. Okay, I think that wraps up our explanation of window shopping. Yes, I hope everyone learned something new today. The ball is in your court. Okay, let's move on to our last word today. The last phrase is the ball is in your court. The ball is in your court. The ball is in your court. That sounds like something to do with sports. But what does it really mean? Good question, Lisa. The ball is in your court is an idiom. It means that it's now your responsibility to make the next decision or take action. Ah, I see. So if I'm waiting for someone to make a decision and they say the ball is in your court, it means I have to decide now. Exactly, Lisa. For example, I've sent you my proposal, so now the ball is in your court. It means that you've done your part, and now it's the other person's turn to respond or make the next move. Let me give a second example. We've made an offer on the house. The ball is in the seller's court now. Great one. It means that the buyers have made their offer and are now waiting for the seller to decide or respond. That's right. Now, let's move on to a short dialogue using the ball is in your court. Mike, I've finished the report. The ball is in your court now. Thanks, Anna. I'll review it and get back to you soon. This dialogue shows how the ball is in your court is used when one person has completed their part, and the next step is up to the other person. I'll review it today and let you know if we need any changes. But yes, now the ball's in my court. Got it. Okay, great. I'll wait for your feedback. That was a clear and simple dialogue, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Anna finished her part of the work, so she told Mike it was his turn to do something. What do you think about this phrase, Lisa? Do you use it often? I do use it, especially at work. It's a nice way to tell someone that they need to take the next step. Yes, I use it too. Mostly when I'm talking to my friends or coworkers. It's a polite way to remind someone that it's their turn to make a decision or do something. I agree, Eric. It's one of those phrases you can use in both casual and formal situations. And the good thing is it's easy to remember because of the sports reference. Yes, that's right, Lisa. All right, I think we've reached the end of today's episode. We hope you learned something new today. See you next time. Bye bye. If you want to improve your English easily, this podcast is perfect for you. So let's get started and make English learning easy. What are the words today, Eric? The first word today is charming. Then we will continue with accordingly and to twirl, followed by hit up, and the final one is hang in there. Okay, let's start with the first word. Our first word today is charming. Charming, charming. This is a lovely adjective in English. That's right, Lisa. Charming means attractive or pleasing in a way that makes people like you. Let me give an example sentence. The old village was very charming, with its small cottages and pretty gardens. It means that the village was attractive and pleasant, making people like it because of its cute houses and lovely gardens. Good explanation. Now it's your turn, Lisa. Can you give us another example? Sure. Here's another example. Sarah has a charming personality that makes everyone want to be her friend. It means that Sarah has an attractive and pleasant way of behaving that makes people like her and want to be friends with her. That's right. Now let's talk about how to use this word. Charming is an adjective, so we use it to describe people, places, or things. Good point, Lisa. We can say, a charming smile, a charming restaurant, or he is very charming. Exactly. Now let's hear a short dialogue using the word charming. Hey, Tom, how was your date last night? It was great. We went to this charming little cafe in the old town. Oh, that sounds nice. What was so charming about it? It had these beautiful old paintings on the walls and soft music playing. Very romantic. That does sound charming. And how was your date? Was she charming too? Yes, she was. She had such a charming laugh and told great stories. Wow, it sounds like you had a perfect evening. That was a great example, Eric. It shows how charming can be used to describe both places and people. Yes, and it also shows that charming often gives a positive feeling. Absolutely. So, Eric, do you think charming is a common word in English? Yes, I'd say it's quite common. People use it often to describe things they find attractive or pleasant. That's true. Is it more formal or informal? It can be used in both formal and informal situations, but it has a slightly formal feel. I agree. Well, I think we've covered charming pretty well. Shall we move on to our next word, Eric? Yes, let's do that. Remember, using words like charming can help you express positive feelings about the world around you. Great point, Eric. And now, what is the next word? The next word we are going to explain today is accordingly. Accordingly is an adverb. It often means, in a way that is suitable or right for the situation. It's like doing something based on what has already been said. That's right. And accordingly is often used after something has been explained or described. For example, she studied hard for the exam, and accordingly, she passed with high marks. This means that because she studied hard, she was able to pass the exam with good grades. The word accordingly shows the result of her hard work. Here's another example. The forecast said it would rain, so he took an umbrella accordingly. This means that because the weather forecast said it would rain, he decided to take an umbrella. The word accordingly shows that his action was because of the weather forecast. One thing to note is that accordingly is often used in more formal contexts. You might hear it in news reports, business discussions, or formal writing. Yes, that's a good point. Accordingly usually comes after the main action or event has been explained, and it connects that event to its result. Now let's see accordingly in a short dialogue. I heard the weather might be bad tomorrow. We should check the forecast tonight and plan accordingly. Good idea. If it's going to rain, we can reschedule for next week. In this dialogue, John says, we should check the forecast tonight and plan accordingly. It means they will make their plans based on what the weather forecast says. Exactly. If the forecast says rain, they will change their plans. Accordingly connects the forecast with their decision. Do you think accordingly is a common word, Lisa? You wouldn't hear it as much in everyday casual conversation, but it's definitely a good word to know for more serious situations. That's true. And because it's more formal, it's useful for writing in professional settings. It can make your writing or speaking sound more polished and professional. Exactly. So remember, everyone, accordingly is a great word to use when you want to show that something is done based on a situation or specific information. Well said, Lisa. That's all for our explanation of accordingly. Let's move on to our next word. The next word today is to twirl. To twirl, to twirl. Eric, can you explain what to twirl means? Yes, of course. To twirl is a verb that means to turn something or someone around quickly, usually in a circle. For example, you can twirl a pen around your fingers or twirl a skirt around your body. That's a great explanation, Eric. Now let's give our listeners some example sentences to help them understand better. Can you give us the first example sentence? Sure. Here's an example. The little girl loved to twirl around in her favorite dress. This means the girl enjoyed turning around in a circle while wearing her favorite dress. That's a lovely example, Eric. Now it's my turn. The dancer twirled her partner around the dance floor. This means the dancer turned her partner around in a circle while they were dancing together. And now, let's listen to a short dialogue using the word to twirl. Olivia. I love this dance move. Can you show me how to twirl around like that? Emma. Of course. First, stand with your feet together, then twirl around in a circle while keeping your arms extended. Olivia. Wow, that looks easy. Let me try. That's a fun dialogue, Eric. It shows how to twirl can be used in a real-life situation. Yes, it does. Twirl is often used when talking about dancing, playing, or even when describing something spinning around quickly. Do you think to twirl is a common word in English? It's not as common as some other verbs, but it's still widely understood and often used when describing movement, especially in creative or playful contexts. I agree. To twirl can also add a bit of vividness to your descriptions. Shall we move on to our next word? Yes, let's do that. I love twirling around like this. See? I told you it was easy. Now, let's twirl around together. Now, let's talk about the word twirl. What do you think about the word to twirl, Lisa? Well, Eric, I think to twirl is a useful word because it's a fun action that people do in many different situations, like dancing or playing with kids. It's also a great way to describe a movement that's lively and energetic. That's a great point, Lisa. And do you think to twirl is a formal or informal word? I think to twirl is an informal word. It's not a word you would typically use in a formal setting, like a business meeting or a formal speech. I agree, Lisa. To twirl is definitely an informal word. Well, that's all for the word twirl. Let's move on to our next word. Sure. Our next word is hit up. To hit up means to contact someone, usually by phone or message, or to visit a place like a store or restaurant. It's a casual phrase often used among friends. Now, let's go over some example sentences to make it clearer. The first example sentence is, "I'll hit you up later to make plans for the weekend." It means that I will contact you later to discuss what we should do during the weekend. Good example. Here's another one. They decided to hit up their favorite coffee shop after work. It means they decided to visit their favorite coffee shop after finishing work. It's important to note that hit up is an informal phrase, so you wouldn't use it in formal situations like talking to your boss. It's more suited for casual conversations with friends or family. Exactly. And when using it, remember that it's always followed by the person you're contacting or the place you're visiting. For example, hit up someone or hit up a place. Yes, Lisa. Now, let's listen to a short dialogue using hit up. Hey, do you want to hit up the new pizza place tonight? Sure, I'll hit you up after I finish work, and we can go together. Sounds good. I've heard great things about it. Me too. I can't wait to try it. That was a nice and simple dialogue. Hit up is really useful when you want to talk about making plans or visiting places, don't you think? Definitely. It's a handy phrase, especially when texting or chatting with friends. Do you think hit up is very common, Lisa? Yes, it is, but mostly in informal situations. You hear it a lot in casual conversations, especially among younger people. It's quick and easy to say. True. And because it's informal, it's not something you would use in a business email or formal letter, but it's great for everyday chat. Exactly. So, remember everyone, hit up is a casual way to say you're going to contact someone or visit a place. It's perfect for making plans with friends. Well put, Lisa. That's all for our explanation of hit up. Okay, Eric, let's move on to the last word of today. Sure, Lisa. Our last word of today is hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there is an idiom often used to encourage someone to keep going, even when things are difficult. It's a very common idiom in English and means, don't give up, or stay strong. You might hear it when someone is going through a tough time, and you want to motivate them to keep trying. Now, let's look at our first example sentence. I know you're having a hard time at school, but hang in there, it will get better soon. This means that even though school is tough right now, you should keep trying and not give up, because things will improve. Now, let's give another example. Lisa, do you have one? Yes, here's another example. When I was learning to ride a bike, it was very difficult, but my dad told me to hang in there, and eventually, I got it. Our next phrase is hang in there. Hang in there is an informal phrase we use to encourage someone to keep going, even when things are tough. It means not giving up and continuing to try, no matter how difficult the situation is. That's right. For example, someone learning to ride a bike might say, I finally learned how to do it. This shows that learning to ride a bike was hard, but by not giving up and continuing to try, the person finally succeeded. Great point, Eric. It's important to know that this phrase is informal. We usually say it to friends, family, or people we know well. It's not something you would use in a formal setting, like at work with your boss. Now, let's do a short dialogue to help everyone understand how to use hang in there in a conversation. Hey Sarah, you look really tired. Are you okay? Oh John, I've been studying for my exams all week. I'm so stressed. I understand. Studying can be really hard, but hang in there. You're almost done. Thanks, John. I'll try. It's just so much work. I know, but you're doing great. Just hang in there, and it will all be worth it. You're right. I'll keep going. In the dialogue, we heard hang in there twice. John used the phrase to encourage Sarah to keep studying, even though she was tired and stressed. Exactly. It shows that hang in there is used when someone is having a tough time. It's a way to show support and tell them not to give up. Eric, what do you think about the phrase hang in there? I think it's very useful because everyone goes through difficult times. Whether you're studying, working, or learning something new, it's important to have a way to encourage someone to keep trying. And because it's informal, you can easily use it with friends and family. Absolutely. So remember, when someone you care about is having a hard time, you can say hang in there to show your support. Yes, exactly. All right. We hope you found this helpful and that you've learned something new. Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to hang in there with your English learning. You're doing great. Well said, Lisa. Okay, see you next time. Bye.